Good evening, dear listener. Settle into your cozy nook, let the world fade, and imagine a gentle breeze stirring the heavy silk curtains of a faraway place. Picture the Forbidden City. Its red walls glowing under a pale dawn, the air crisp with the promise of a new day. Tonight, we slip into the life of a palace maid in the Ming Dynasty, where every step you take echoes with purpose and precision. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let this story carry you to a world of quiet duties and hidden dreams. You awaken in the dim servants' quarters, a long, narrow room tucked deep within the labyrinth of the Forbidden City. The air is cool, tinged with the faint scent of cedar from the wooden beams overhead. Your straw mat is thin, but you're used to its firmness, the way it grounds you to this life. Around you, other maids stir. Their movements soft but purposeful, like ripples across a still pond. The hour is early, barely past the 5th watch, when the roosters beyond the palace walls begin their chorus. You rise, folding your blanket with care, your fingers brushing the rough cotton of your plain blue robe. It's nothing like the embroidered silks you'll handle later, but it's clean, and that's what matters. Your breath catches slightly as you step into the morning chill, joining the silent stream of maids filing toward the washing courtyard. The cobblestones are cold beneath your cloth shoes. A maid's tongue is her greatest danger, second only to her curiosity. Still, you can't help but wonder, what does it feel like to issue an edict? To hold power in your hands instead of a polishing cloth? There's a peculiar detail about these morning rituals that always makes you pause. The Empress, it's said, insists on a particular rosewater scent, distilled from flowers grown only in the imperial gardens. The gardeners claim it takes 1,000 petals to fill a single vial. And you believe it, the fragrance is so delicate it seems to vanish if you breathe too hard. You uncork a tiny bottle now, dabbing a drop onto a silk cloth. It's absurd in a way. This obsession with perfection, but it's also beautiful, like a poem no one will ever read. You imagine telling someone in your village about it, and they'd laugh, thinking you'd gone mad. She's a fixture here, her face as unyielding as the palace walls. Straighter, she mutters, pointing to a hairpin you've laid out. You adjust it, biting back a sigh. Madame Gao's standards are legend. But so is her fairness. Last year, when you fell ill, she slipped you an extra bowl of rice porridge, a kindness you've never forgotten. The palace is like that, cruel and kind in equal measure. A balance you've learned to navigate. Historians still debate whether the maids of the Forbidden City were truly as powerless as the records suggest. Some argue they wielded subtle influence, passing messages or swaying the moods of their mistresses. Others say they were mere shadows, erased by the grandeur of the court. You don't know which is true, but you feel the weight of your role. Small as it is, every hairpin you place, every fold you smooth, is a thread in the tapestry of this empire. As you finish arranging the trays, the first rays of sunlight slip through the lattice windows, painting the floor in soft gold. The day is beginning, and with it, the endless dance of duty. You stand smoothing your robe, and follow the other maids toward the Empress's chambers. Your heart is steady, your steps light. This is your world, for now, and you carry it with quiet pride. The hall of serene virtue fades behind you, its jasmine-scented air giving way to the sharper chill of the corridor. Your cloth shoes whisper against the polished stone floor. Each step a soft echo in the vastness of the Forbidden City. The morning is young, the sun barely cresting the curved roofs, but the palace hums with purpose. You carry a lacquered tray, its weight familiar in your hands, as you head toward the Empress's private chambers. The tray holds a folded silk robe, its deep crimson threads embroidered with golden phoenixes. Each stitch a testament to months of labor. You don't dare let it touch the ground, such a mistake would haunt you for weeks. You move through the inner courtyards, where the air smells of dew and distant charcoal fires. The Forbidden City is waking, its rhythm as steady as a heartbeat. Guards in lacquered armor stand at their posts, their faces carved from stone, while eunuchs glide past, their robes swishing like whispers. You keep your eyes low, as always, but you notice everything: the flicker of a lantern, the faint creak of a wooden screen. It's a habit born of necessity, this quiet vigilance. A maid who misses a detail risks more than a scolding. The Empress's chambers lie within the Palace of Earthly Tranquility, a name that feels both fitting and ironic. Tranquility is a performance here, layered over the undercurrents of ambition and rivalry. You pause at the threshold, waiting for the head maid's nod. Madame Gao is there, her presence as commanding as ever. Her lips pressed into a line that could mean approval or displeasure. You bow, your movements smooth from years of practice, and step inside. The room is a cocoon of luxury, silk drapes in shades of jade and amber, a sandalwood screen carved with lotus flowers, and a faint haze of incense curling toward the ceiling. It smells like wealth, like power. Your task is to assist in dressing the Empress for her morning audience. You kneel beside a low stool, unfolding the crimson robe with care. Its fabric is heavy, almost alive under your fingers, and you marvel at its softness, so unlike the coarse cotton of your own clothes. The Empress sits before a bronze mirror, her face serene but unreadable, her hair already pinned with jade ornaments that catch the light. You hand the robe to a senior maid, who drapes it over the Empress's shoulders. Your role is small, passing pins, smoothing folds, but it places you close to the heart of the court. You feel the weight of her gaze, though she never looks at you directly. To her, you are a shadow, useful but unseen. The hierarchy among the maids is as rigid as the palace itself. You're a mid-tier maid, trusted with delicate tasks but far from the inner circle. Above you are the senior maids, like Madame Gao, who speak to the Empress directly. Below you are the new girls, wide-eyed and clumsy, still learning to move without sound. You remember being one of them, tripping over your own feet, your heart pounding at every mistake. Now you guide them when you can, like little May, who's struggling to pin a sash without trembling. Breathe, you murmur, your voice barely audible. She nods, their wings etched with gold. It's an odd choice, you think, for a woman who embodies imperial grandeur. Later you learn from another maid that cicadas symbolize rebirth. The thought makes you smile, though you hide it behind a bow. The morning ritual is a dance of precision, but it's not without its tensions. The Empress's favorite concubine, Lady Zhang, enters briefly, her presence like a gust of wind. She's younger, her beauty sharp and deliberate, and her arrival shifts the room's mood. The maids exchange glances, their silence louder than words. You've heard whispers of Lady Zhang's influence, her ability to sway the Emperor with a single glance. The Empress's face remains calm, but her fingers tighten slightly on the armrest. You pretend not to notice, focusing on a stray thread you're trimming from the robe. Power, you realize, is as much in these small gestures as in edicts or armies. In 1587, the Wanli Emperor's court was a complex web of alliances and rivalries, with the Empress often at its center. Her morning rituals were not just personal but political, a display of her status as the empire's first lady. You're part of that display, your hands shaping the image she presents to the court. It's a humbling thought, and a heavy one. You wonder if anyone outside these walls will ever know the care you put into this moment, or if it will vanish into the vastness of history. Historians still debate whether the Empress's influence extended beyond ceremony to true political power. Some claim she shaped policy through subtle suggestions, while others argue her role was purely ornamental, a figurehead in a male-dominated court. You don't have answers, but you feel the weight of her presence, the way it commands the room without a word. The ritual ends, and you step back, your tray empty. The Empress rises, her robes flowing like a river of fire, and glides toward her audience hall. You follow at a distance, your heart steady but your mind alive with questions. What does it mean to serve someone whose life is so far from your own? You push the thought aside, focusing on the next task. The palace doesn't care for your musings, only your obedience. As you leave the chambers, you pass a window overlooking a small garden. The peonies are blooming, their petals soft against the morning light. You pause for a heartbeat, letting their beauty anchor you. Then you move on, your steps light, your tray ready for the next duty. The day is unfolding, and you are part of its quiet machinery. The palace of earthly tranquility recedes behind you, its heavy doors closing with a soft thud that feels final, like the end of a prayer. You carry a new tray now, this one laden with delicate porcelain bowls, their lids painted with twirling dragons. The warmth of the food seeps through the tray, a faint comfort against the morning's chill. Your destination is the Empress's dining chamber, where breakfast awaits the imperial women. Your steps are measured, each one a silent vow not to spill a drop. The forbidden city is unforgiving, and a clumsy maid is a memorable one, for all the wrong reasons. The corridor you tread is lined with vermilion pillars, their lacquer gleaming under the rising sun. The air carries the scent of polished wood and something sweeter, perhaps the osmanthus blossoms from a nearby courtyard. You pass a group of eunuchs, their voices low, their eyes sliding over you without pause. To them, you're as much a fixture as the carved screens or the bronze incense burners. It's a strange comfort, this invisibility. Like a cloak you wear to survive. You adjust your grip on the tray, feeling the ache in your wrists. No one told you how heavy grace could be. The dining chamber is smaller than the Empress's audience hall, but no less opulent. Silk tapestries drape the walls. There are scenes of mountains and rivers stitched in threads that shimmer like water. A low table dominates the room, its surface inlaid with mother of pearl, reflecting the light of a single lantern. You kneel at the threshold, waiting for Madame Gao's signal. She's already there, arranging cushions with the precision of a general. Her nod is curt, and you rise, gliding toward the table. The bowls clink softly as you set them down, their contents hidden but their aromas unmistakable. Steamed rice with lotus seeds, braised tofu, and a soup that smells of ginger and star anise. The Empress enters, followed by 2 concubines, their robes a cascade of pastel blues and pinks. You keep your eyes on the table, but you sense the hierarchy in their movements, the Empress's measured grace, the concubines' careful deference. Lady Zhang is among them, her presence as sharp as ever. You place a bowl before her, noticing the jade ring on her finger, its green so vivid it seems to pulse. The court's dining etiquette is a labyrinth of rules. The Empress eats first, her portions tasted by a eunuch for poison. The concubines wait, their chopsticks poised until she nods. You've seen maids punished for serving out of order, their names whispered as warnings. You won't be one of them. As you pour tea, jasmine, steeped to a pale gold, you observe the subtle dance of power. The Empress speaks softly, her words about a festival, but her tone carries weight. Lady Zhang responds, her voice sweet but edged, like honey over a blade. The other concubine, Lady Wei, is quieter, her eyes darting between them. You wonder what it's like to live in this triangle, where every glance is a calculation. Your own life, with its trays and hairpins, feels simpler, though no less precarious. At least you don't have to smile while someone plots your downfall, you think, suppressing a wry grin. Imagine a modern reality show set in this room, the drama would be unstoppable. There's a curious detail about the Empress's meals that catches your attention. Her rice is served with a single red bean, placed precisely at the center of the bowl. You've heard it's a tradition from her home province, meant to bring prosperity. The other maids giggle about it sometimes, calling it her lucky bean. You find it endearing, this small quirk in a woman who seems otherwise untouchable. It's the kind of thing you notice in a friend, not an empress, and for a moment, you feel a pang of connection. Then you remember your place and focus on the tea, its steam curling like a secret. The breakfast is part of a larger historical moment, one you've overheard in snippets. In 1587, the Ming court was grappling with economic strain, partly due to the Wanli emperor's lavish spending on ceremonies and palaces. The empress's meals, though extravagant, were a calculated display of stability. A message to the court that the dynasty remained unshaken. You're a cog in that message, your hands ensuring the bowls are flawless, the tea poured without a ripple. It's a small role. But it ties you to something vast, something that will outlive you. Historians still debate whether the Empress's public displays, like these meals, were purely symbolic or a genuine assertion of influence. Some argue she shaped the court's morale, others that she was a figurehead in a game of optics. You don't know the truth. But you feel the room's tension, the way it hums beneath the clink of porcelain. The meal ends, and you gather the bowls, their contents barely touched. The Empress rises, streaked with clouds. It's a fleeting reminder of the world beyond these walls, a world you rarely see. You linger for a heartbeat, then move on, your steps steady. Madame Gao is waiting outside. Who'd probably trade her lucky bean for a second helping of soup, and the thought makes you smile. The morning is slipping away, and your duties are far from over. You carry the tray toward the kitchens, the corridor stretching before you like a promise of more work, more care, more silence. The Forbidden City is a machine. And you are one of its countless parts, moving in time with its rhythm. For now, that's enough. The dining chamber's warmth lingers on your skin as you step back into the corridor. The tray of empty bowls balanced carefully in your hands. The Forbidden City's pulse is quickening now, with sunlight streaming through lattice windows, casting intricate shadows on the stone floor. You weave through the bustling pathways, past maids carrying linens and eunuchs murmuring about the day's schedule. The air smells of charcoal and polished wood, with a faint trace of peonies from some unseen garden. Your destination is the Empress's private quarters, where your next task awaits, tidying her rooms to the palace's exacting standards. The journey takes you across a small courtyard, where a breeze stirs the leaves of a gnarled pine tree. You pause for a heartbeat, letting the cool air brush your face. It's a rare moment of freedom, but you'd never call it that aloud. The palace is a world of rules, and even a lingering glance at the sky could earn a frown from Madame Gao. You shift the tray, your wrists aching, and hurry on. The Empress's quarters are in the Palace of Earthly Tranquility, a name that feels like a gentle lie when you think of the tensions you've glimpsed at breakfast. Tranquility, here, is a performance, and you're one of its quiet choreographers. You enter the Empress's chambers through a side door, bowing to the senior maid who guards the threshold. The room is a study in opulence, silk curtains in shades of jade, a lacquered table gleaming like a dark mirror, and a bronze incense burner exhaling curls of sandalwood smoke. The scent wraps around you, soothing and heavy, like a lullaby you can't quite trust. Your task is to clean and arrange, to make the space flawless before the Empress returns. You set the tray aside and begin, your movements swift but silent. Dust is the enemy here, as is disorder. Every surface must shine, every cushion must align. You start with the furniture, wiping down a rosewood chair with a soft cloth. The wood is smooth under your fingers, its carvings of clouds and dragons so intricate they seem to shift in the light. You move to the table, polishing its surface until it reflects your blurred silhouette. It's mindless work, but there's a rhythm to it, a kind of meditation. You imagine doing this in a modern apartment, dusting a coffee table while a podcast hums in the background. The thought makes you smirk. Would you trade this palace for a vacuum cleaner and Wi-Fi? Maybe on laundry day. As you work, you notice a peculiar detail, a tiny jade figurine, no bigger than your thumb, tucked behind a vase. It's shaped like a frog, its eyes two glinting specks of amber. You've never seen it before, and you wonder if it's a charm, perhaps for fertility or luck. The Ming court loves its talismans, from cicada hairpins to red beans in rice bowls. You leave the frog untouched, half expecting it to croak if you disturb it. Later you'll ask May if she knows its story. She's got a knack for sniffing out palace oddities. Like that time she swore the kitchen cats were trained to spy. Your next task is arranging fresh peonies in a porcelain vase, their petals soft and pink, like the blush of dawn. You trim the stems with a small knife, careful not to bruise the flowers. The vase is heavy, its blue and white glaze depicting a scene of scholars under a willow tree. You wonder who painted it. If they ever imagined their work would sit in an empress's chamber. The peony's scent is faint but sweet, and you breathe it in, letting it anchor you. These small beauties are your allies in a world that demands perfection. In 1587, the Forbidden City was not just a home but a stage, where every detail, from peonies to polished tables, served the Ming Dynasty's image. The Empress's quarters were a microcosm of this, designed to awe visitors and reinforce her status. Your work, though unseen, upholds that illusion. You're part of a tradition stretching back centuries, one that historians say began with the Yuan dynasty, when palace maids were first formalized as a class. Their labor, like yours, was the invisible scaffolding of imperial grandeur. Historians still debate whether the maids' role in maintaining these spaces gave them any real influence. Some argue their proximity to power let them shape small decisions, while others see them as mere tools, their lives erased by the court's splendor. You don't know which is true, but you feel the weight of your cloth, the care you pour into every surface. It's not power, but it's something, pride perhaps, or defiance. You finish with the cushions, plumping them until they sit just so. The room is perfect now, or as close as you can make it. Madame Gao will inspect it later, her eyes sharper than any blade. You've learned to anticipate her critiques, to double-check the vase's angle or the curtain's folds. Last month, she caught a speck of dust on a mirror, and the memory still stings. Perfection, she said, is the least we owe. You didn't argue, but you wondered, who decides what perfection means? As you gather your cleaning cloths, a junior maid, little May, slips in, her face flushed. They're saying Lady Zhang broke a teacup, she whispers, her eyes wide. On purpose. You hush her, but your mind races. A broken teacup could be a tantrum, a signal, or nothing at all. The palace thrives on such mysteries, and you're not immune to their pull. You think of that frog figurine, its amber eyes watching. Maybe it knows more than you do. You step back into the corridor. The chamber's scent clinging to your robe. The sun is higher now, warming the stones under your feet. Your next task looms, but for a moment you let yourself feel the morning's quiet triumph. The room is ready, the Empress will approve, and you've survived another hour in this gilded cage. The Forbidden City turns, and you turn with it, a small but steady part of its endless dance. The corridor stretches before you, its crimson pillars fading into shadow as you leave the Empress's quarters behind. Your cleaning cloths are tucked under your arm, their faint scent of wax mingling with the morning air. The Forbidden City is fully awake now, its courtyards alive with the soft clatter of trays and the murmur of voices. You're due for a brief rest, a rare pause in the day's relentless rhythm. Your steps slow as you approach the maid's common area, a small room tucked behind the kitchens where you and the others steal moments to breathe. The air grows warmer, carrying the aroma of steamed buns and charcoal fires. You slip inside, grateful for the dim light and the low hum of conversation. The room is plain, wooden benches, a single brazier glowing in the corner, but it's a haven. A place where the palace's rules feel slightly less suffocating. May is already there, perched on a bench, her fingers picking at a frayed sleeve. Other maids sit in small clusters, their voices hushed but eager, like birds before a storm. You settle beside May, your shoulders relaxing for the first time since dawn. The bench is hard, but it's a welcome anchor, grounding you in this fleeting moment of reprieve. Someone passes you a cup of weak tea, its warmth seeping into your palms. You sip it slowly, savoring the faint bitterness, and let the room's chatter wash over you. The maids are whispering about a scandal, their words sharp but careful, mindful of eavesdroppers. It's about Lady Zhang, the concubine whose presence at breakfast felt like a spark in dry grass. Apparently she broke that teacup May mentioned. Not by accident, but in a fit of pique during a private audience with the Emperor. The details are murky. Some say she was jealous, others that she was making a point. You listen, your face neutral. but your mind hums. A teacup in this palace is never just a teacup. You glance at May, who's leaning forward, her eyes wide. They say she threw it at a screen. She whispers, barely containing her excitement. You raise an eyebrow, half amused. And you believe that? You murmur, keeping your voice low. She'd be in the cold palace by now if she did. May pouts. But you know she loves the drama, even if it's half invented. The maids thrive on these stories, weaving them into the fabric of their days. It's not so different from scrolling through gossip online. You wonder what drove her to such a reckless act, or if the story's been embroidered by bored maids. Either way, it's a reminder, even the powerful are trapped in this gilded cage, just like you. There's an odd detail that surfaces in the chatter, one that makes you pause. The teacup, they say, was part of a set gifted by a foreign envoy. Its glaze a rare shade of celadon that shimmered like moonlight. Breaking it wasn't just defiance. It was an insult to the envoy's kingdom, a diplomatic slight wrapped in porcelain. You find it strangely poetic, this idea that a cup could carry so much meaning. It's the kind of thing you'd never have imagined back in your village, where a cracked bowl was just bad luck. Not a scandal. You picture the envoy's face, somewhere far away, oblivious to the storm his gift has stirred. In 1587, the Ming Dynasty was navigating delicate relations with neighboring kingdoms. And the Wanli Emperor's court was a stage for diplomatic theater. Gifts like that celadon teacup were symbols of alliance, their destruction a potential spark for conflict. Your role in the palace keeps you far from such matters, but you feel their ripples, the way the maid's whispers carry a nervous edge. The way Madame Gao's frown deepens when foreign envoys are mentioned. You're a small part of this world, but you're not blind to its tensions. Historians still debate whether concubines like Lady Zhang wielded real influence, or were mere pawns in the emperor's games. Some argue their tantrums shaped court dynamics. Others that their power was an illusion, shattered as easily as a teacup. You don't know the truth, but you feel the palace's pulse, the way it shifts with every rumor. Your tea is cooling now. And you take another sip, letting its warmth steady you. The break ends too soon. A senior maid claps her hands, and the room falls silent. You stand smoothing your robe and file out with the others. May lingers beside you, still buzzing with the gossip. What if Lady Zhang's banished? She whispers. You shrug, keeping your voice light. Then we'll have one less teacup to polish. She giggles, and you feel a flicker of warmth. These moments, however brief, are what keep you grounded. As you step into the corridor, the sunlight is brighter, warming the stones under your feet. The palace looms around you, its walls both a shield and a prison. You think of that celadon teacup. Its fragments swept away by some unseen hand. Maybe it was a rebellion, maybe a mistake. Either way, it's gone, and the palace moves on. So do you, your steps steady, your heart quiet. The day is far from over, and your duties wait, as relentless as the sun climbing the sky. The maid's common room fades behind you. Its whispers of Lady Zhang's teacup lingering like a half-remembered dream. You step into the corridor, the air cooler now, scented with the faint tang of ink and old silk. Your next task draws you to the sewing room, a quiet corner of the forbidden city where the imperial wardrobe is mended and adorned. Your cloth shoes brush the stone floor. A soft rhythm that blends with the distant clink of porcelain from the kitchens. The palace is a living thing, its pulse steady, and you move with it. A small but essential thread in its vast tapestry. The sewing room is tucked within the hall of gentle repose, a name that suits its calm. You push open the wooden door, and a wave of warmth greets you, laced with the earthy scent of flax and the sharp bite of new thread. The room is small, its walls lined with shelves of folded silks in every shade, crimson, indigo, pale lotus green. Low tables are scattered with needles, spools, and half-finished embroidery, their patterns glinting under the light of oil lamps. Other maids are already here, their heads bent over their work, their fingers moving with the precision of dancers. You settle at a table near the window, where a sliver of sunlight spills across the wood. Your task is to embroider a sash for the Empress's wardrobe, a delicate piece meant for a spring festival. The silk is soft as water, its surface shimmering with faint gold threads. You thread a needle with green silk, its color vivid against the pale fabric, and begin stitching a pattern of plum blossoms. Each stitch is a tiny act of creation, demanding focus and patience. The needle pricks your finger once, a small sting you ignore. You've done this for years, your hands steady even when your mind wanders. The rhythm is soothing, like the patter of rain on a tiled roof, and you let it carry you. You glance at May, who's working across the table, her tongue poking out as she wrestles with a stubborn knot. "You'll ruin it if you pull harder," you whisper, half smiling. She huffs but loosens her grip, and you feel a flicker of pride. Teaching her, even in these small ways, makes you feel less like a shadow. The other maids chat softly, their voices a gentle hum. They speak of mundane things, sore backs, a new recipe in the kitchens, but it's a relief after the teacup gossip. Here, the palace's intrigues feel distant, and you're grateful for the reprieve. There's a peculiar detail about the sewing room that catches your eye, a small bronze bell hanging above the door, its surface etched with lotus flowers. It's said to ring only when an imperial inspection is near, though you've never heard it. The maids call it the silent watcher, half joking that it's cursed to jinx sloppy stitches. You find it oddly charming, this blend of superstition and practicality. It's not unlike those modern apps that ping you for deadlines, you think, imagining a bell icon flashing on a phone screen. The comparison makes you smirk, though you keep your eyes on your needle. The embroidery is part of a larger tradition, one tied to the Ming Dynasty's obsession with visual splendor. In 1587, the Wanli Emperor's court used clothing as a language of power, each robe and sash a statement of rank and loyalty. Your stitches, though small, contribute to that language, ensuring the Empress's appearance upholds the dynasty's glory. You've heard that thousands of artisans across the empire supplied the palace's wardrobe, their work converging here, in rooms like this. It's a humbling thought, one that makes your needle feel heavier. Historians still debate whether the Palace Maid's crafts, like this embroidery, held any cultural weight beyond their utility. Some argue they preserved artistic traditions, others that their work was merely functional, lost in the shadow of imperial pomp. You don't know which is true, but you feel the silk under your fingers, the care you pour into each blossom. It's not art, perhaps, but it's yours, and that's enough for now. As you stitch, your mind drifts to your village, to the rough hemp clothes your mother used to mend. She'd laugh if she saw you now, fussing over silk finer than anything she'd ever touched. You wonder what she'd think of the bell, or the teacup scandal, or that jade frog you found in the Empress's quarters. The memory of it, those amber eyes glinting, makes you pause. Maybe you'll ask May about it later, though she'll probably spin it into a ghost story. You smile at the thought, your needle moving faster. The room grows quieter as the maids focus. The only sounds the rustle of fabric and the occasional sigh. You finish a row of blossoms, their green stems curling like tendrils, and lean back to inspect your work. It's good, not perfect, but good. Madame Gao will check it later, her eyes sharper than any needle. You've learned to dread her inspections, but also to crave her rare nods of approval. Last week, she called your stitching adequate, and you carried that word like a jewel for days. The sunlight shifts, painting the table in warmer hues. You glance out the window, catching a glimpse of a courtyard where a single magpie perches on a stone lantern. It's a small beauty, one the palace rarely lets you savor. You think of the Empress, who will wear this sash without knowing your name, and of Lady Zhang, whose teacup might still be the talk of the court. Their world feels far away, yet your hands bridge it, stitch by stitch. A chaotic symphony of clanging pots and shouted orders. You enter through a side door, the heat hitting you like a wave, laced with the sharp tang of vinegar and the sweetness of caramelizing sugar. The room is vast, its stone walls blackened by years of smoke, its tables crowded with chopping boards and baskets of vegetables. Cooks in white tunics move with frenetic grace, their knives flashing as they slice lotus roots and deb one fish. You pause at the threshold, taking it in, the steam, the noise, the life. It's the closest the palace comes to your village market, though you'd never say that aloud. Your task is to help prepare the midday meal for the imperial family, a feast that will fill the dining chamber with colors and scents. You're assigned to a corner table, where a senior cook hands you a knife and a pile of carrots. Thin slices, she barks, her voice cutting through the din. You nod, gripping the knife, and begin. The carrots are firm, their orange vivid against the worn wooden board. You slice carefully, aiming for uniformity, knowing the cooks will notice any flaw. The work is simple but relentless, your hands moving in time with the kitchen's pulse. You glance around, catching May's eye at a nearby table. She's arranging dumplings on a bamboo tray, her fingers nimble but her face scrunched in concentration. Don't let them burst, you call softly, teasing. She sticks out her tongue, and you stifle a laugh. These moments, brief as they are, feel like stolen treasures, like the peonies you arranged or that magpie on the lantern. The kitchen is loud, but it's alive, and you're part of its heartbeat, even if just for an hour. There's a peculiar detail that catches your attention as you work. A small clay jar on the table, filled with pickled plums so dark they look like ink. The cook says they're for the emperor's dessert, a delicacy from a distant province. You've never tasted one, but their sharp, salty scent makes your mouth water. It's strange to think of the emperor, who commands armies, savoring something as simple as a plum. You imagine a modern chef posting about it online. Imperial pickle recipe, 1587 edition. And the thought makes you smirk, though you keep your eyes on the carrots. The kitchen's work is tied to a broader historical moment. In 1587, the Ming Dynasty's wealth was on display in its cuisine, with ingredients sourced from across the empire and beyond. The midday meal you're helping prepare is a statement of abundance, meant to dazzle the court and reassure allies. You've heard the cooks boast about rare spices and fish shipped live from coastal cities, luxuries your village could never dream of. Your role is small, slicing, arranging, but it connects you to this vast network, to a dynasty straining to prove its strength. Historians still debate whether the Ming court's lavish meals were a sign of prosperity or a mask for economic strain. Some argue they bolstered the dynasty's image, others that they drained resources better spent elsewhere. You don't know the truth, but you feel the weight of each carrot slice, the care you put into making it perfect. It's not power, but it's purpose, and that's enough to keep your hands steady. As you finish the carrots, the senior cook inspects your work, her nod grudging but sufficient. You move to help May with the dumplings, brushing flour from her sleeve. The trays are nearly ready, their contents a mosaic of colors: white dumplings, green chives, golden tofu. You marvel at the beauty, though you know you'll never taste it. The imperial family will eat, and you'll carry their empty bowls, just as you did at breakfast. It's a cycle you've accepted, though sometimes you dream of a single bite, just to know. The kitchen grows quieter as the meal takes shape, the cook's shouts giving way to focused murmurs. You step back, wiping your hands on a cloth, and catch a glimpse of the sky through a high window. It's a clear blue, streaked with wispy clouds, and for a moment you're back in your village, watching the sky from a rice field. The memory stings, but you push it aside. There's no room for homesickness here, only for the next task, the next tray. The senior cook claps her hands, signaling the trays are ready. You lift one, its weight familiar, and join the line of maids heading to the dining chamber. May is beside you, her tray wobbling slightly. Steady, you whisper, and she grins, her nervousness easing. You think of Lady Zheng's teacup, its celadon shards a world away from this moment. Maybe she's eating these dumplings, or maybe she's sulking in her chambers. Either way, the palace moves on, and so do you, your steps light despite the tray's burden. The corridor awaits, its pillars glowing in the midday sun. The forbidden city is a machine, and you're one of its gears, turning with quiet precision. For now, that's enough. The kitchen's heat clings to your skin as you step into the corridor. The tray of steaming dishes balanced carefully in your hands. The forbidden city hums around you, its corridors alive with the soft shuffle of maids and the distant chime of a bronze bell. The air is warm now, scented with osmanthus and the faint musk of polished wood. Your cloth shoes whisper against the stone floor, each step a quiet vow to keep the tray steady. You're headed to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, not to serve but to observe a court ceremony, a rare moment when your duties intersect with the grandeur of the Ming Dynasty's heart. The journey takes you through a series of courtyards, where sunlight glints off golden roof tiles, casting patterns that dance like scattered coins. You pass a group of guards, their lacquered armor gleaming, their eyes fixed ahead. Eunuchs glide by, their robes swishing, their faces unreadable. You keep your gaze low, as always, but you feel the palace's pulse quickening. Its rhythm sharper here, closer to the Emperor's domain. The tray is heavy, but you barely notice. Your mind is on the ceremony, a spectacle you've only glimpsed in fragments before. You reach the Hall of Supreme Harmony, a vast structure that dwarfs every other building in the Forbidden City. Its red pillars soar upward, its feathers crafted from gold and enamel. When a eunuch wins it, the bird chirps and flaps its wings, drawing gasps from the court. It's a marvel, likely from a distant land, and you wonder how many artisans labored to create it. The Ming court loves such curiosities, blending tradition with flashes of the new. You picture a modern museum displaying that bird. Its gears rusted but its story alive, and the thought makes you smirk. History, you realize, is full of these strange bridges between then and now. In 1587, the Wanli Emperor's court was a stage for both unity and tension, with ceremonies like this reinforcing the dynasty's authority while masking its growing strains. The tribute ritual was a carefully choreographed act, designed to bind the empire's far-flung regions to the throne. Your presence, though invisible, is part of that act. Your silence a thread in the tapestry of imperial order. You've heard whispers of unrest in distant provinces, of taxes sparking murmurs of discontent, but here, in this hall, the empire feels eternal. Historians still debate whether these ceremonies were genuine displays of loyalty or mere theater, with governors masking their ambitions behind gifts. Some argue they strengthened the dynasty, others that they hid cracks that would later widen. You don't know the truth, but you feel the hall's weight, the way it presses on everyone, from the emperor to the maids like you. As the ceremony continues, you shift slightly, your legs aching from standing. May is nearby, her eyes wide, drinking in the spectacle. You catch her gaze and raise an eyebrow, a silent question. Impressed? She nods, barely hiding a grin. It's a small connection, a reminder that you're not alone in this vast machine. You think of Lady Zheng's teacup, its celadone shards a world away from this pomp. Maybe she's here, watching from the shadows, her ambitions coiled like the dragons overhead. The ritual ends with a proclamation from the emperor, his voice carried by a eunuch's echo. You don't catch the words, but the court bows, a wave of silk and reverence. You bow too. Your movements automatic, your heart steady. The hall begins to empty, and you join the other maids in filing out, your role complete. The sunlight outside is blinding, warming your face as you step into the courtyard. You breathe deeply, the incense's weight lifting, replaced by the clean scent of pine. Your next task awaits, but for a moment you linger, letting the ceremony's echoes settle. The Forbidden City is a world of contrasts, grandeur and grit, power and fragility. You're a small part of it, your hands shaping its quiet corners, your silence upholding its splendor. For now, that's enough. The Hall of Supreme Harmony recedes behind you, its golden light and incense fading like a dream you can't quite hold. You step into the courtyard, the midday sun warming the cobblestones under your cloth shoes. The Forbidden City pulses around you, its rhythm unbroken, maids hurrying with trays, guards standing rigid. the distant clang of a kitchen bell. The air carries the scent of sun-warmed pine and a faint trace of charcoal, grounding you as you weave through the bustling pathways. Your next task is no task at all, but a constant, to navigate the palace's web of rules, a silent code that binds every step you take. You move toward the servants' quarters, where you're due to fetch fresh linens for the Empress's chambers. The corridors narrow here, their crimson pillars giving way to plainer walls, the opulence of the imperial halls a distant memory. You pass May, who's carrying a basket of folded robes, her face flushed from the heat. "Don't trip," you murmur, your voice light, and she sticks out her tongue, a spark of defiance in her eyes. You smile, but it fades quickly. The palace's rules are a shadow over every moment, and even May's playfulness feels fragile, like a flower pressed between stones. The rules are endless, etched into your bones after 3 years in the Forbidden City. You must bow to anyone of higher rank, eunuchs, senior maids, concubines, with the exact depth their status demands. You must never speak unless spoken to, never look directly at the imperial family, never walk in certain corridors after dusk. Even your footsteps must be silent, your robe spotless, your hair pinned without a strand astray. You've seen what happens when the rules are broken. Last week, a new maid, barely 16, forgot to bow to Lady Zhang. The concubine's sharp words left the girl trembling, and Madame Gao sentenced her to a day scrubbing floors. You wince at the memory, your hands tightening around the linens you now carry. As you reach the linen room, a small space thick with the scent of lavender and starch, you witness another lesson in obedience. A senior maid, Madame Chen, is scolding a young girl, Lian. You think her name is, for stepping into a forbidden corridor near the Emperor's quarters. Lian's eyes are red, her voice a whisper as she apologizes. "Ignorance is no excuse," Madame Chen says, her tone cold but not cruel. "The palace demands perfection." You pause, pretending to adjust the linens, but you're listening, your heart heavy. You've been Lian once, trembling under a senior's gaze, and you know the shame burns deeper than any punishment. There's a peculiar detail about the palace's rules that strikes you as you fold the linens. The maids are taught to walk with a slight tilt of the head, eyes down, to avoid meeting anyone's gaze. It's called the posture of humility, and it's meant to keep you invisible. A shadow among shadows. You find it oddly theatrical, like a dance no one watches. Imagine a modern office enforcing that, you think, a memo demanding humble head tilts for interns. The absurdity makes you smirk, though you hide it behind a stack of sheets. Still, the posture is second nature now, your body bending to the palace's will even when your mind resists. The rules are part of a broader historical framework, one that defined the Ming Dynasty's court in 1587. The Wanli Emperor's reign was marked by a rigid bureaucracy, with every role, from minister to maid, governed by protocol. These regulations, historians say, maintained order in a sprawling empire, ensuring the Forbidden City ran like a well-oiled machine. Your obedience, though unseen, upholds that machine, your silence a cog in its relentless turning. You've heard whispers of reforms proposed that year, of officials urging the emperor to loosen certain edicts. But change feels impossible here, where tradition is as heavy as the palace walls. Historians still debate whether the palace's strict rules empowered its servants by giving them structure or stripped them of agency, turning them into mere extensions of the court. Some argue the system rewarded loyalty, others that it crushed individuality. You don't know which is true, but you feel the rules' weight, the way they shape your every move. From the tilt of your head to the speed of your steps. You finish gathering the linens, their crisp folds a small triumph, and head back toward the Empress's chambers. The corridor is quieter now, the midday rush easing. You pass a window, its lattice framing a glimpse of a plum tree, its branches heavy with fruit. It's a fleeting beauty, one you'd love to linger over. But the rules don't allow it. You think of Lian, her red eyes, and wonder if she'll learn to love this place, or if it will break her first. You've survived by bending, not breaking, but some days. The effort feels like a theft of something you can't name. As you walk, you recall the jade frog from the Empress's quarters, its amber eyes watching. Maybe it's a symbol of the rules. You muse, a silent guardian of order. Or maybe it's just a frog, and you're reading too much into it. May would laugh at that, spinning it into a tale of enchanted amphibians. The thought lightens your steps, and you hold it close, a shield against the palace's weight. The Empress's chambers loom ahead, their doors a promise of more duties, more rules. You adjust the linens, your posture perfect, your head tilted just so. The Forbidden City watches, and you move through it, a quiet figure in a world of crimson and gold. For now, that's enough. The weight of the linens presses against your chest as you leave the servants' quarters, their lavender scent a faint comfort in the Forbidden City's endless corridors. The midday sun filters through lattice windows, casting delicate shadows that dance across the stone floor. Your cloth shoes move silently, a habit born of necessity, as you navigate the palace's maze toward the Empress's chambers. But before you reach your destination, a rare opportunity beckons, a stolen moment to slip into a quiet courtyard. A sliver of solitude in a day bound by duty. You glance around, ensuring no senior maid is watching, and veer toward a small gate, its wood worn smooth by years of discreet escapes. The courtyard is a hidden gem, tucked between towering walls and rarely visited by anyone of rank. You step inside, and the world shifts. The air is cooler, scented with plum blossoms and damp earth, a stark contrast to the polish and incense of the palace's interior. A single tree stands at the center, its branches heavy with ripe plums, their purple skins glinting in the sunlight. You pause, letting the linens rest on a stone bench, and breathe deeply. The silence is a gift, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of a magpie. For the first time today, you feel like yourself, not just a maid in a blue robe. You sit on the bench, its shell carved with intricate swirls, its head tilted as if listening. You've heard the maids whisper about turtles as symbols of longevity, but this one feels personal, like a secret left by someone long gone. You wonder who placed it here, and why. Maybe it's a maid's quiet rebellion, a mark on a place that erases its servants. You picture a modern park with a turtle statue, kids snapping photos for their feeds, and smirk. #Palace Turtle. You muse, the absurdity a small spark of joy. This courtyard, you've learned, is one of many scattered throughout the Forbidden City, designed as retreats for the imperial family but often left empty. In 1587, the Wanli Emperor's court was a place of both splendor and isolation, with spaces like this serving as brief escapes from the weight of power. For you, a maid, it's a rare chance to exist without scrutiny, to feel the sun on your face without bowing. You've heard stories of maids meeting here in secret, sharing dreams or fears, but you're alone today. And that's enough. Historians still debate whether the palace's servants found any true freedom in these hidden spaces. Some argue they were moments of agency, others that they were mere illusions, too fleeting to matter. You don't know which is true, but you feel the courtyard's peace, the way it softens the edges of your day. It's not rebellion, but it's yours. A quiet claim on a world that rarely sees you. You reach up, plucking a plum from the tree. It's warm from the sun, its skin smooth against your fingers. You don't eat it, stealing is a risk you won't take, but you hold it, letting its weight anchor you. You think of May, who'd probably pop the plum in her mouth and grin, daring the palace to catch her. You think of the jade frog, the celadon teacup, the turtle statue, all these small mysteries that dot your days. They're not answers, but they're questions, and questions keep you alive. Keep you wondering. The sun shifts, its light slanting across the courtyard, and you know your time is running out. Madame Gao will notice if you're late. And the linens must reach the Empress's chambers. You stand, smoothing your robe, and lift the linens, their scent mingling with the plum's faint sweetness. You take one last look at the turtle. Its mossy shell a promise you'll return. Maybe you'll bring May next time, let her weave a story about it. The thought makes you smile, a small defiance against the palace's rules. You slip back through the gate, the courtyard's peace clinging to you like a second skin. The corridor is busier now, maids and eunuchs moving with purpose, their voices a low hum. You adjust your posture, head tilted in that humble way, and blend into the flow. The plum is still in your hand, tucked into your sleeve, a secret you'll carry through the day. You think of Lien, the scolded maid, and hope she finds a place like this, a moment to breathe. The Empress's chambers are close now, their doors a reminder of your role. You move toward them, your steps steady, your heart quiet but alive. The Forbidden City is a machine, but you've found a crack in its armor, a courtyard where you can be more than a maid. For now, that's enough. The courtyard's serenity lingers in your chest as you step back into the corridor, the plum hidden in your sleeve a quiet secret against the Forbidden City's unyielding rhythm. The linens you carry are crisp, their lavender scent mingling with the corridor's faint musk of polished wood and distant incense. The sun is high now, its light streaming through lattice windows, painting the stone floor with delicate shadows. You move toward the palace of earthly tranquility, where the Empress awaits her afternoon audience. Your cloth shoes are silent, your posture perfect. But your mind hums with the memory of the turtle statue, its mossy shell a small anchor in this sea of duty. The corridor is alive with the palace's pulse, maids gliding with trays, eunuchs murmuring in tight clusters, their voices sharp with purpose. You pass a guard, his armor glinting, and lower your gaze, the rules as instinctive as breathing. The Empress's chambers loom ahead, their red doors carved with peonies that seem to bloom in the sunlight. You pause at the threshold, bowing to Madame Gal, who stands like a sentinel, her eyes scanning you for any flaw. She nods, a curt gesture, and you step inside, the linens replaced by a tray of tea implements, porcelain cups, a jade teapot, and a small jar of jasmine leaves. The chamber is a cocoon of elegance, its silk curtains glowing in shades of amber and jade. The air is heavy with sandalwood, soothing but thick, like a lullaby that demands attention. The Empress sits on a cushioned throne, her crimson robe pooling around her, its phoenixes catching the light. She's preparing to receive a group of noblewomen, wives of high-ranking officials, whose visits are as much about politics as pleasantries. Your task is to serve tea, to move with the grace of a shadow, ensuring the ritual flows without a ripple. You kneel beside a low table, arranging the cups with care, each one delicate as a bird's egg. The Empress's voice is soft but commanding, directing a senior maid to adjust the screen. You listen, your hands steady as you pour hot water into the teapot, the steam curling like a whispered secret. Her words are about the festival preparations, but there's a weight to them, a subtle signal you can't quite read. You've learned to notice these things, the tightening of her fingers, the pause before a smile. She's a master of this dance. And you're a small but essential part, your tea ensuring the noblewomen feel honored, their loyalty secured. You think of the celadon teacup, its shards a world away, and wonder if Lady Zhang's absence today is deliberate. There's a peculiar detail that catches your attention. The Empress insists on a single lotus petal in her tea, floating like a tiny boat on the surface. It's a quirk you've seen before, but today it feels poignant, a nod to purity or perhaps a memory she doesn't share. You place the petal carefully, its pink edge vivid against the pale liquid. It's absurd, in a way, this fuss over a flower, and you imagine a modern barista rolling their eyes at such a request. Extra lotus petal, hold the foam. You muse, the thought sparking a faint smirk you hide behind a bow. The noblewomen arrive, their robes a cascade of silk, their voices a practiced melody of deference. You serve the tea, moving silently, your steps a choreography of humility. The Empress sips first, her nod almost imperceptible, and the others follow. You watch from the corner of your eye, noting their gestures, the way one woman's fan flutters, another's eyes dart to the Empress. It's a game of power, played with smiles and silences, and you're grateful to be outside it. A maid with a tray instead of a stake. Still, you feel the room's tension, its undercurrents as real as the steam rising from the cups. In 1587, the Ming Dynasty's court relied on women like the Empress to maintain alliances, their audiences a delicate balance of charm and authority. These tea rituals were diplomatic tools, reinforcing bonds with officials' families while signaling the dynasty's stability. Your role, though unseen, upholds that stability, your hands shaping the moment's grace. You've heard whispers of the wanly emperor's growing distance from his court, leaving the empress to fill the gap. Her power, subtle but vast, is a thread you help weave, cup by cup. Historians still debate whether the empress's influence in these audiences was genuine or overstated, a product of later chronicles romanticizing her role. Some argue she shaped policy through these women, others that her power was ceremonial, a gilded cage of her own. You don't know the truth, but you feel her presence, the way it commands the room without effort. The audience ends, the noble women bowing as they leave, their fans folding like wings. You gather the cups, their contents barely touched, and step back. Your tray steady. The empress rises, her robe whispering, and glides toward her private quarters. You follow at a distance, your heart quiet but alert. Madame Gao is waiting, her eyes sharp. Faster next time, she mutters, though you know the tea was flawless. You nod, used to her standards, and think of the courtyard, its plum tree a promise you'll return. As you leave the chamber, you pass a window, its view of the sky a soft blue, streaked with clouds. You think of the lotus petal, the turtle statue, the plum in your sleeve, small anchors in a world that demands everything. The palace is a machine, but you're finding ways to carve out moments, to breathe. For now, that's enough. The empress's chambers fade behind you, their sandalwood haze giving way to the cooler air of the corridor. Your tray, now empty of teacups, feels light in your hands, but the weight of the day presses on your shoulders. The forbidden city is quieter now, the afternoon's bustle easing as the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the crimson pillars. The air carries the faint scent of chrysanthemums and wax, a reminder of the evening tasks ahead. You move toward the palace of earthly tranquility once more, tasked with preparing the empress's chambers for the night, a ritual of incense and silence that marks the day's slow unraveling. The corridor is nearly empty, save for a lone eunuch adjusting a lantern, his movements precise. You lower your gaze, your cloth shoes whispering against the stone floor, and feel the plum in your sleeve. Its warmth a quiet rebellion against the palace's rules. The memory of the courtyard, with its turtle statue and plum tree, lingers like a half-forgotten song, steadying you as you approach the chambers. You pause at the threshold, bowing to a senior maid, not Madame Gao this time, but Madame Chin, whose stern face softens slightly at your punctuality. She nods, and you step inside, the familiar opulence wrapping around you like a heavy cloak. The room is dim, the sunlight filtered through silk curtains, painting the lacquered furniture in soft golds. You set the tray aside and begin your work, lighting a bronze incense burner shaped like a lotus. The sandalwood sticks glow as you touch them with a taper, their smoke curling upward, filling the air with a soothing weight. You move to the empress's bed, smoothing the silk sheets, their surface cool and flawless. Each fold must be perfect, each cushion aligned, as if the night itself demands the same precision as the day. You've done this countless times, your hands moving with a rhythm that feels like breathing. As you work, you notice the jade frog again, its amber eyes glinting from its perch behind the vase. It's become a familiar presence, a silent witness to your days. You wonder if the Empress even notices it, or if it's just another relic in her world of treasures. The thought makes you pause, your fingers lingering on a cushion. In your village, a frog was just a frog croaking in the rice fields. Here, it's a mystery, a symbol you'll never fully unravel. You imagine a modern collector coveting it, bidding millions for. Ming Dynasty frog, slightly mossy. The absurdity makes you smirk, though you hide it behind a careful adjustment of the sheets. Your next task is to arrange a tray of evening essentials: rosewater for the Empress's hands, a silk cloth, a small mirror. You handle each item with care, knowing Madame Chen will inspect your work. The rosewater, you recall, takes 1,000 petals per vial, a detail that still feels like a poem. You uncork the bottle, its scent delicate and fleeting, and dab a drop onto the cloth. The ritual is intimate, almost sacred, a contrast to the political weight of the afternoon audience. You wonder what the Empress thinks in these quiet moments. If she ever feels the palace's walls closing in. In 1587, the Ming Dynasty's evenings were as structured as its days, with rituals like this reinforcing the Empress's role as the empire's heart. The preparation of her chambers was a silent act of devotion, ensuring her rest upheld the court's harmony. You've heard the Wanli Emperor rarely visits her now, his attention drawn to concubines like Lady Zhang. Yet the Empress's chambers remain a sanctuary, their perfection a testament to her enduring status. Your hands, smoothing sheets and lighting incense, are part of that testament, a small but vital thread in the dynasty's fabric. Historians still debate whether the Empress's nightly rituals held deeper significance, perhaps a spiritual counterbalance to the court's politics. Some argue they grounded her authority. Others that they were mere tradition, empty of power. You don't know the truth, but you feel the room's stillness, the way it demands your care. It's not influence, but it's purpose. And that steadies your hands as you work. You finish by adjusting the curtains, their silk whispering under your fingers. The room is ready, a haven of order in a world of hidden tensions. Madame Chen enters, her eyes sweeping the space. She pauses at the incense burner, then nods, a rare approval that warms you more than you'd admit. Go, she says, her voice low, and you bow, gathering your tray. As you leave, you catch a glimpse of the sky through a window, its blue deepening to twilight, streaked with violet clouds. It's a fleeting beauty, one you carry with you as you step into the corridor. You think of Mei, probably gossiping in the maid's quarters, and of Lien, the scolded girl, hoping she's found some peace. The plum in your sleeve feels heavier now, a reminder of the courtyard's quiet. You wonder if you'll return there tomorrow, or if the palace will keep you too busy. The frog, the teacup, the lotus petal, they're all pieces of this life, small mysteries that keep you tethered. You smile faintly, picturing Mei's reaction if you told her about the plum. You kept it? She'd gasp, her eyes wide. Maybe you'll show her, just to see her laugh. The corridor stretches before you, leading to the maid's quarters, where rest awaits. The forbidden city is settling into night, its pulse slowing, and you move with it, a quiet figure in a world of crimson and gold. For now, that's enough. The corridor's twilight shadows guide you away from the Empress's chambers, the faint scent of sandalwood clinging to your robe like a whispered farewell. The forbidden city is quiet now, its bustling rhythm softened by the fall of night. Your tray is gone, left behind in the care of another maid, and your hands feel strangely empty, though the plum in your sleeve remains, a small weight grounding you. The air is cool, laced with the crisp bite of autumn and the distant aroma of charcoal fires. You're headed to the maid's quarters, where the day's duties give way to rest, but first, a rare moment of connection awaits, a gathering where stories are shared, and the palace's walls feel just a little less heavy. You slip into the maid's common room, a familiar haven tucked behind the kitchens. The space is dim, lit by a single brazier that casts a warm glow across the wooden benches. The air smells of steamed rice and faint traces of lavender from the linens you carried earlier. A handful of maids are already here, their voices low, their faces softened by the day's end. Mei is among them, perched on a bench, her eyes bright despite the late hour. You settle beside her, the bench's hardness a familiar comfort, and accept a bowl of thin porridge from a passing maid. It's plain but warm, and you cradle it, letting its heat seep into your palms. The room's chatter is gentle, a weave of complaints and small joys, but tonight, an older maid named Hui takes the lead. She's a fixture in the palace, her hair streaked with gray, her stories a quiet currency among the maids. You lean forward, spoon pausing. as she begins a tale of the forbidden city's past, not of emperors or battles, but of maids like you, whose lives flickered in the palace's shadows. Her voice is soft, almost hypnotic, like a lullaby meant to coax you toward sleep. You feel the day's weight lifting, replaced by the pull of her words. Hui speaks of a maid from decades ago, during the reign of the Jiajing Emperor, who was said to haunt the northern corridors after a tragic end. The story is eerie but not frightening, woven with details that feel more like memory than myth. The maid's favorite hairpin, shaped like a crescent moon, the way she hummed while polishing screens. Huey's voice dips, and you imagine the corridors outside, their silence now tinged with a ghostly hum. May shivers beside you. There's a peculiar detail in Huey's story that catches your attention. The ghostly maid, it said, left behind a single shoe, embroidered with peonies, found years later in a hidden alcove. One rooted in the Ming Dynasty's complex relationship with the supernatural. In 1587, the Wanli Emperor's court was steeped in omens and rituals, with even maids like you mindful of signs, a magpie's call, a misplaced hairpin. These stories, historians say, were a way to cope with the palace's rigidity, giving voice to fears and hopes that had no place in daylight. Your presence here, listening to Hui, is a small act of preservation, keeping these tales alive even as the palace forgets their tellers. Historians still debate whether these ghost stories reflected genuine belief or were mere entertainment, a distraction from the maids' grueling lives. Some argue they empowered the servants, others that they reinforced the palace's control, tying even dreams to its walls. You don't know the truth, but you feel the story's pull, the way it binds you to Mei, to Hui, to the maids who came before. The porridge is cooling now, but you take another sip, letting its warmth steady you. Hui finishes, her voice trailing into silence, and the room feels heavier, as if the ghostly maid lingers in the shadows. The other maids murmur, some joking to break the spell, others lost in thought. You think of the jade frog, the turtle statue, the plum in your sleeve, small pieces of your own story, your own traces. Maybe you'll leave something behind too, though you hope it's not a shoe. Mei leans against you, her breathing slow, and you smile faintly. Don't haunt me if you go first, you whisper, and she giggles, the sound a small defiance against the night. The brazier's glow is fading, and a senior maid claps her hands, signaling bedtime. You stand, returning your bowl, and file out with the others, Mei at your side. The corridor is dark, the palace asleep, its walls holding countless stories like Huey's. You think of the crescent moon hairpin, the peony shoe, and wonder what tales your life will inspire. The plum in your sleeve feels heavier now, a promise you'll carry into tomorrow. The maids' quarters await, their straw mats a humble end to the day. You move through the darkness, your steps light, your heart quiet but alive. The forbidden city dreams, and you dream with it, a small but steady part of its endless tale. For now, that's enough. The maid's common room fades into the night's embrace, Huey's ghostly tail trailing behind you like a wisp of incense smoke. You step into the corridor, the forbidden city now cloaked in darkness, its crimson pillars swallowed by shadow. The air is crisp, scented with the faint tang of charcoal and the cool breath of autumn. Your cloth shoes move silently, a reflex honed by years of navigating these halls. The plum in your sleeve, still warm from your touch, is a quiet companion as you make your way to the maid's quarters, where a narrow straw mat awaits. Tonight, though, your mind lingers not on sleep but on your place in this vast, unyielding palace. The quarters are a long, low room, its walls plain and unadorned, a stark contrast to the Empress's chambers. The air smells of straw and faint traces of lavender, carried from the linens you handled earlier. A single lantern casts a feeble glow, just enough to guide you to your mat, one among dozens lined against the walls. You settle onto it, the straw creaking under your weight, and pull the thin blanket over you. The other maids are already here. They're breathing a soft chorus in the dark. Mei is nearby, her mat close enough that you can hear her faint snores, a sound that makes you smile despite the day's weight. You lie still, staring at the ceiling's wooden beams, their outlines barely visible. The palace feels different at night, less a machine and more a living thing, its walls holding centuries of secrets. You think of He's story, the maid with her crescent moon hairpin, and wonder what it means to leave a mark in a place that forgets so easily. Your life here is a cycle of trays, bows, and silent steps, each day blending into the next. Yet there's a quiet pride in it, a strength you didn't know you had when you left your village 3 years ago. You were a girl then, wide-eyed and clumsy. Now, you're a maid who can polish a mirror without a smudge, who can carry a tray through a crowded corridor without spilling a drop. There's a peculiar detail that surfaces in your thoughts. The maid's mats, like yours, are woven with a faint pattern of lotus flowers, barely noticeable unless you look closely. It's an odd touch for such a utilitarian thing, as if someone, long ago, wanted to remind you that beauty exists even in the humblest places. You run your fingers over the straw, feeling the faint ridges of the pattern, and find it strangely comforting. Imagine a modern designer pitching lotus-themed bedding for a budget hostel, you muse, smirking into the dark. The absurdity lightens your mood, a small spark against the night's weight. Your role in the palace is part of a larger historical tapestry, one woven in 1587 under the Wanli Emperor's reign. The Ming Dynasty's court relied on maids like you to maintain its grandeur, your labor the invisible foundation of its rituals and displays. Historians note that the palace employed thousands of servants, their lives governed by a hierarchy as rigid as the emperor's own. Your mid-tier status, trusted but not exalted, places you in the middle of that hierarchy, a position you've learned to navigate with care. You think of Madame Gao, her stern nods, and Madame Chin, her rare approvals,